Till 6 p.m. Now, back to First Look with Scott Cox on NewsTalk 1180 and the new 96.1 KERN.
It's exactly what it is. They want to keep their free internet from everybody.
Good morning, everybody. It's First Look program. It's News Talk 1180, the new 96.1 KERN, stream live on the internet at Bakersfield.com. Hop, we got Steve Miller on the line. Can we bump the news and traffic back just a bit?
Yeah, we're fine, and then we'll get to it. Yeah,
Mr. Miller, and no, yep. Steve, we're not going to make it. No Steve Miller band jokes. You will not hear those today, my friend. This Steve Miller is the president and CEO of GetDismissed, because April is, in fact, Distracted Driving Awareness Month. And the statistics are pretty daunting, are they not, Mr. Miller?
Yeah, hi, Scott. Yeah, the statistics on distracted driving are huge. They cause more deaths than just about any other form of driving out there.
And it's matter of fact, causes a lot more deaths in young people than it's moving up the charts pretty quickly. And the bad part is, this is in an era where cars are safer than they've ever been. So the traffic deaths should be going down, but they're not, and it's all about distracted driving.
Absolutely, especially in young people. You know, about 10% of all drivers between, say, 15 and 19 involved in fatal crashes are from distracted driving. And keep in mind, though, that distracted driving is not just using your cell phone, especially with young kids. Distracted driving a lot of times includes passengers in the car. You know, they have their friends in the car, they're turning around, they're horsing around, they're talking to each other. And these young drivers especially, you know, they don't have the background, they don't have the history and the knowledge to deal with situations that come up in driving. And when they're distracted, it causes, you know, crashes and ultimately sometimes a death. Yeah,
it's completely unacceptable. Well, I mean, you deal with people and their tickets and courts and all that stuff on a routine basis. Is there a law enforcement? I mean, can we enforce our way out of this problem? Because it seems to me this is an overall general awareness situation.
Yeah, you know, that's an excellent question and topic. You know, I don't think that we could legislate our way out of this problem. It really is a lifestyle choice. People have to be aware and of the situation when they're driving, and they have to change the way they drive. You know, if you take a look at mobile phones, I don't even want to call them cell phones anymore because they're not really cell phones. You know, they're these devices that people just cannot live without, and they have to understand that when they get behind a vehicle, that's not something that they should be using, and they have to change the way they basically live their lives and drive in order to be safer. And I don't think that laws can change that. It's people's mindset have to change.
Yeah, obviously. And also you have to take it as a given that people can't live without their phones while they're driving. They can. It's just it's something that you got to get in your head to begin with. But you know what's going to happen? A lot of companies now that we're working on technology to sort of override the system. The prevailing wisdom is that self-driving cars are going to make this all a moot point before we could implement the technology anyway.
Well, yeah, you know, self-driving cars bring up a whole other issue. You guys have or may have heard about what's happening with Uber and Google, and Uber had a car crash in testing, you know, the other week. And first off, self-driving cars are really not going to be commonplace for, I think, at least 10 years. And you know, obviously, that just brings up a whole different set of issues that I don't think any of us are ready for.
No.
Yet. But technology, in fact, instead of legislation, technology will make the distracted driving from cell phones decrease. But, you know, again, I want to stress that there's a lot of other distracted driving. It's not just using that mobile phone.
It could be it could be a BLT.
Technology has enabled us in, you know, with the syncing with the cars and the LCD panels in cars and being able to verbally, you know, make commands to your car that actually activate your phone will decrease distracted driving. But what about putting on makeup in the car, shaving, disciplining your kids, eating, reading maps, even using a navigation system?
Yeah,
all those are other forms of distracted driving.
Yeah, and that map can pull your attention off there pretty quickly too if you're not careful. But I can tell you this: well, my mom never had a cell phone in her car, but she could discipline the kids in the back seat just fine without ever taking her eyes off the road. That was.
I think we had the same mom because we had 4 kids, and my mom was always, disciplining us in the back.
Yep, and it was never a problem. You always knew when she meant business. So, okay, well,
Right.
what is there an answer to this? Is it what if it was a $1,000 fine and an automatic 30-day suspension of your driver's license for texting while driving? I'm guessing it probably wouldn't have that much of an effect.
I have to agree with you. I think the amount of the fine isn't the issue. It's, again, a lifestyle choice. And if you look what's going on these days, especially in California, Governor Brown has been changing, and the legislator has been proposing laws to get people back their driver's licenses that have been suspended for other reasons, not distracted driving. So I don't think they want to add on another form of taking a license away, because they found that taking a license away doesn't change the behavior. And people need to work, and it's just making the problem worse by not being able to drive. It really is. I think it's a combination of technology and lifestyle.
Yep, and fear of getting caught is clearly not a thing. We're talking to Steve Miller. He's president and CEO of GetDismissed because April is Distracted Driving Awareness Month, and everybody's trying to come up with an answer to this. But I don't know that there is one. These people are so addicted to these stupid phones that they can't bear the thought of breaking that communication with the outside world long enough to drive from A to B. I just don't think we're not going to legislate that away. It's an awareness thing. It's just something we've got to. I don't know. Is it educational, the answer to this?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, look at drunk driving. I'm 52, so when I grew up, I mean, the education on driving intoxicated, really wasn't there, and people did it all the time. And then you look what happened along the years in the 80s and MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and everything that came in. And I have kids in their 20s, and I could tell you they don't drink and drive anymore.
Yeah.
So it's an education process. It's a awareness process, and I think that we could do the same thing that was done with drinking and driving with distracted driving.
And I say, you know what, really, because I got kids. I've got a 26 and a 24, and this is where I give a lot of credit to Uber. If my kids are going to have adult beverages, they just Uber it, and it's gotten so cheap and so easy. They don't even think about drinking and driving anymore. I mean, I don't know that they ever did, but
absolutely.
But
yeah,
we found a way.
Technology changed that.
What about because there is, and I know there's some pushback on this too. But what if we could put a chip in every cell phone that would not send or receive texts while the car was in motion? Because GPS already knows if you're moving. And the problem they run into is people say, well, that discriminates against passengers who should be able to text away. In other words, we've got the legislative part of this where they're trying to pass laws to increase penalties. We've got the educational part of this, but there's also the technological aspect of this where cell phone companies are looking at ways to immobilize the texting on phones while you're driving a car, but they haven't had any luck in getting it done.
I think you hit a hot button right there, and because I think that's more likely to come into place prior to additional legislation, prior to people changing, the way they deal with these phones. I think more likely you will have either chips in the car, not the phone, but chips in the car and or the phone where it disables certain functions of that smartphone while the car is in motion. But you're absolutely right. What about, the passengers? Now, they certainly can, go ahead and get on Facebook, do other things, text, make calls, and that's perfectly legal and behavior that, typically won't distract the driver. So they have to look at ways where they can basically tell who's in the driver's seat. I would think that if they can tell if a car is in motion, they can tell if that person or that phone is in the driver's seat of the car.
Right. And the other part of this is texting while driving is not illegal in all 50 states. That's and so if you're a car manufacturer, if I'm Toyota and I've got an engineer working on a way to keep anybody from texting while in the car, I'm pretty aware that the marketing people are going to tell me, yeah, we're not going to do that because they're not going to buy my car. They're going to buy the car that they can text while they're driving. The market.
Well, any states that it's not legislated into law, I think it's just a matter of time because obviously, texting, driving, Facebook, any other social media is not something that should be done behind the wheel. So I don't think that's something to worry about because if certain states don't have that in place now, I think that's just a matter of time, just like like I brought up drinking and driving.
Yeah. Put it this way. They had a bill because they just had this horrific accident. Well, not really an accident in New Braunfels, Texas, where a 20-year-old kid texting away ran into a bus full of old church group, killed 12 people, got more in the hospital. And they and Rick Perry vetoed it. He said, no, we're not going to make texting illegal here. And they didn't. That kid would have probably been texting even if they had made it illegal. But it's everybody. It's like everybody's aware of the problem, but nobody's got a good answer.
Yeah, no, you're right. Nobody has a good answer. I think it's going to, again, come from technology. It's going to come from an awareness program and behavior, changing that behavior, because it just has to change.
Yeah. My idea, here's my plan. This is kind of retro, but it's also super modern. If you're in your car and you take your phone out, a little panel opens up in the dash, and one of those old-fashioned, like in the cartoons, the boxing glove on the little extender thing, just punches you right in the face. That
will do it.
I think Acme makes that. I think I saw it on a Roadrunner cartoon. Mr. Miller, we sure appreciate your time today, and you can go to GetDismissed.com, and it's a pretty interesting organization. How did you get the idea for that? How did they get the idea for that company?
Well, we've actually been helping people contest traffic tickets for about 13 years, and we're talking speeding, red light, stop sign, U-turns, even cell phone tickets. And it actually started when my brother got a ticket, and we looked at the back of the ticket, and there was an option to fight a ticket.
Yeah.
Using what's called a trial by written declaration, and that's a way to fight a ticket without going to court. In fact, we believe it's the best way to contest a ticket without going to court because you can put your case together in writing, and it's a regular legal defense, and it's submitted to the court. And if it's dismissed, the points off the record and the bail's returned to you. It's like it never happened. But more importantly, if it's not dismissed, and not every ticket does get dismissed, if it's not dismissed, then you still are right back where you started, and you still have the right to have your day in court and go to court and or take traffic school if you're eligible for traffic school. So it's the best way in California to fight a ticket without going to court, retaining all your options.
There you go. All right, well, check it out. They got a pretty good winning percentage. Mr. Miller, we appreciate it, and thanks for advocating for all this distracted driving stuff, too, and bringing that to people's attention. That's a very important service, and I'm glad you helped us do it today. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Appreciate being on.
There you go. And not a single Steve Miller Band joke. We got to take a break. It's 8:48. We'll get right back after this, and we'll get you up to date on the news and the traffic and the weather. Keep moving forward. We'll do that right after this. It's First Look. It's News Talk 1180, the new 96.1 KERN, and we are streaming live on the internet at Bakersfield.com.
The news and talk of Kern County, 1180, and the new